Welcome to the Good Talent Podcast, a podcast by the media industry for the media industry. We interview global experts in PR, marketing, and advertising so you can stay sharp.
Welcome to the Good Talent Podcast. It's great to have your company. And John Sullivan, what an incredible guest we've got coming up. Technology that is revolutionizing the use of video.
Yeah, exactly. They're using incredible technology to allow people like myself, a sports fan, to curate their own sort of, video content, out of thousands and thousands of hours of stuff. You might want to see a left-footed goal from the 80s for one of your favorite players, and you can see sort of 15 of them in a row if you use this technology. I think it's fantastic.
Who would have thought? I was just happy surfing YouTube and to find the stuff I like, feeling like that's efficient. But Linius Technology, they're an ASX-listed company. This is curated content like never before, John.
No, exactly. It allows you to interface if you're a cricket fan, if you're a rugby fan, and they're sort of expanding out into US and international sports markets. And as we know, there's thousands of hours of material from even a weekend's action, never mind the hundreds of years that some of these institutions have been going. So I think there's great applications here. And as people like ourselves who are in the media, who consume media, I think it's a great story to share and a great platform for people to explore, because I think it could change the game.
It's changing the game. It's the chat GPT of the video world. They're focusing on sport right now. We've got the main guy just about to join us, James Brennan. John, enjoy the interview.
Thanks, I will.
I was reflecting that, the vision or the visual is primary to humans. You can imagine the ancient hunter-gatherer. Your eyesight is primary to your senses, and so we're wired. And you can tell me, James, but is it 80% of our knowledge or 90% of the information eyes? Right. So this ancient Homo sapien hunter-gatherer tuned into the horizon, looking for fear or problems. Fast forward into the very modern chat GPT driven 21st century. Video is so powerful. YouTube, a juggernaut, TikTok, another one, YouTube Shorts. If it's visual, we're there. Our literacy rates are plummeting. Our concentration span is plummeting.
Yeah.
But here you are, James, at the forefront of all this with this amazing new video technology.
We're in the right place at the right time. Yeah. So I think the stats are something like 80% of the traffic across the internet is video. That there's definite demand for it. There's definite opportunity for innovation and disruption, and that's what we're looking to do.
And John, I guess we're marketers, we're influencers. We're looking at the game all the time, trying to help our clients take things to the next level. But we certainly don't have a product like James's. And give me it's been pitched to me, James. But if I see it, what you've got is a research tool in a way. That you're using video to get what you want, click your fingers and you've got it in video and the editing's all done for you. Just take me on a journey of what you've got.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you bring up that it's a kind of a research tool, because very visibly it's more of a kind of an entertainment and, kind of a tool to entertain us and bring us what we want. But in reality, what it's doing is research, and we're doing deep research on video. And we originally started out with applications in things like education and libraries and archives and even news and, you name it. But we've really narrowed down and focused on the sports industry because that just happens to be where there's a lot of demand at the moment. But in essence, what Linius's solutions do is allow us to deeply research within video to find exact moments and things that people are interested in, and then to be able to put those together into your own personalized video streams. So rather than having to watch the same thing as everybody else, let's say, John, you said you're a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
So more and more people are watching things like, instead of watching the whole match, they're watching what's called mini matches, which are like 5 and 10 minute, highlights of the game. Or you're going to YouTube and watching, a 3-minute highlight that someone put together of the game. But those things are still very much what someone has decided you want to watch. There's nothing available that lets you decide to see exactly what you want to see until now. So essentially, that's what we do. We allow the individual user to deeply personalize and find exactly what they want from whatever library or archive of video it is, and to create their own personalized video stream. So, John, you might pull out your favorite teams from the Premier League. You might be a MotoGP fan. You might be a cricket fan. And you say, hey, on Saturday afternoon, I want to see a 30-minute program that includes my favorite teams. I want to see their goals. I want to see them beat Manchester United. I want to see them do this. Yeah. And you get a 30-minute stream that's exactly what you want to see, not what someone thinks you want to see.
See, I love that because I think sports broadcasting and the way we consume it is becoming more bespoke, isn't it? It's becoming more individualistic. And it sounds like you're doing these amazingly curated lists for individuals. So in the old days, we used to watch a show called Match of the Day back home, you know, like 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. And everyone loved it and you had to be there to watch it. But obviously, this is a different world now, as Tony and you have alluded to. We're consuming all this stuff in different platforms like TikTok, X, whatever it might be. And we don't have to wait for other people to make a program we want to see. You're saying we can use your platform to curate one.
Exactly. And the proliferation of creators and the proliferation of all of these different channels of video is trying to get to that point where, you know, someone is a fan of a particular team and they say, okay, I know what our team's fans wants, and they create a channel and they will then get followers of people who want to follow that. So we're creating this volume of video down to smaller and smaller niches of exactly what people want to see. But instead of someone having to decide and curate that for you, why can't you just do that on your own? So what we're trying to do is to get to that or follow that trend of personalization, but do it at massive scale. So rather than someone who's a great follower of your team, knows you and the other fans intimately, creating a small niche channel for those viewers, why not let the broadcasters or the Premier League themselves, or, you know, at a larger scale, create a tool that allows that same level of personalization, but even a step further, which is exactly what you, John Sullivan, what you want to see. You might say, I want to see this player, I want to see his tackles, I want to see his header goals, and be very specific. And we can get down to that level and give you personalized streams of exactly what you want to see.
So my head's exploding with what this means. Like it's pretty exciting. I'm taking notes here, but it's a B2B product, it's a B2C product, but I'm also thinking the major platforms own all the video. They could put you out of business really quick, or be buying you really quick. So where are you? Yep. Where is all this going? And what's it mean for advertisers? Like, you know, the audience of just John, you know, that's a pretty esoteric, weird group or person to be targeting.
I'll take that personally.
Don't take it. Yeah, don't take it.
I'm only joking.
But so advertising wise, you're onto gold here. But like, just John's revenue is not enough, right? Or disposable income is not enough. That's why they target bigger groups. So maybe we start there. What's it mean for advertisers?
So I might take a step back. You mentioned that it's a B2B and a B2C kind of product. So our particular software, we sell it B2B. So we're selling it to the broadcasters, to the rights holders, the leagues, the people who own that video content, own the rights to distribute that video content. They're buying our software, but then they make it available to the consumer. So we're not selling direct to a consumer. We're not like a YouTube that's creating a branded platform that we want people to come to. We're selling our solutions to the likes of Cricket Australia and the Premier League and broadcasters, who will then create their own branded solutions around it. But what that means for advertisers is the ability to get their ads into very specific user groups. So our customers monetize it in different ways. Some of the broadcasters are thinking about including it in, you know, premium subscriptions, or they're using it as a way to maintain those subscriptions and reduce churn. So a great example would be here locally in Australia. You've got Foxtel, who relies heavily on sport, and they get huge uptake during the AFL season. But then after the AFL season is done, people, you know, reduce their subscriptions and move on to something else. And if we can keep them engaged during the off season, that's one way to monetize it. Cricket Australia is an existing customer of ours, and advertising and monetization is critical and at the forefront of what they're looking to do. So I'll give a bit of an example. They today have a huge viewership on YouTube. They have 300 million views on YouTube per month. Huge viewership. But the level of revenue from that is very small because it's, into the subcontinent, it's into India. They don't have the premium sponsors. The ad rates are lower. So what they're looking to do is to bring some of that viewership back to their own website with creative, new, unique content that you can't get anywhere else. And on their own website, they have premium sponsors, premium advertisers, higher ad rates. And by knowing what those users want to see, I can target my advertising to those specific viewers. What are they searching for? What players are they searching for? Is that player sponsored by this company or that company? You can, very finely start to target your advertising dollars.
So I guess, John, we're talking about creating stickier audiences here. The audience is stickier because they're playing with this amazing tool and they can get exactly what they want.
Yeah, it sounds like you can go deeper down the rabbit hole. I mean, look, as I've mentioned, I'm a Liverpool fan and Sir Kenny Dalglish is my favourite player. Now, say if I wanted to see Sir Kenny Dalglish's best left-footed goals through the 80s, how do I interface and interact with your platform and make it work? Where do I go? How do I do it?
Yeah, so as a fan today, it's not available directly to you yet.
Okay.
That's what we, Linius as a company, are working on. We're working with the broadcasters and the Premier League and the federations to make this available to their fans. We do have a customer who is about to release that capability, but not directly yet for the fans. It's going to be available for advertisers, broadcasters, filmmakers, things like that, to be able to do what you just said. I want to see Kenny's left foot goals against Manchester United.
Yeah.
And you will be able to literally type that into a search bar.
I'm excited.
And it will give you those 50 clips or whatever it is, and give you those exact things. And then the broadcasters will use that to create content. The TV producers will pull that out. Let's say that they're making a film and they wanted to highlight something about the Premier League or about Liverpool. They'll be able to pull that out and use that. So the capability exists. We're putting it in the hands of, at the moment, more B2B style users. But we're putting out more and more of this. We've got a Premier League team. So the Wolverhampton Wanderers have this today on their website, and you can go and pull out their favorite moments. So we're hoping, as we scale and as we continue to roll this out to more customers, John, your needs will get met sometime soon.
Well, that excites me greatly. That excites me greatly. And I've got to ask you, James, as someone from America, always feels to me, and certainly I know Tony and our chats, that you lead the way in sport, sports broadcasting, coaching, and so on. Where did the genesis of this idea come from for you? Are you a sports fan? Was it something that was missing for you? How did it come about?
Well, interestingly, I wasn't there when the idea was created. So I joined Linius about 2 years ago to come in and help the company move into that kind of commercial growth phase. The original idea was, we're an Australian founded company. The idea originally came from someone who was not necessarily looking at the sports industry, but was looking at a more efficient and effective way to utilize video. This was probably 8 years ago or so when video was still more difficult to work with. Different file formats and things didn't play nicely with each other. So he came up and patented a capability we call it virtualized video, where you break apart video into its small component pieces, and then you can break those apart, reorder them, put them back together, put pieces from this video together with this video, and put them back together on the fly at massive scale. So his original idea for the patent wasn't even around sports. It was just a general video capability. But then as we started bringing it to market and test marketing it in different applications, sports was very much at the forefront of where the value creation was. We still see our platform and our technology moving into other areas like news and education, even security and defense, being able to search for following someone through the airport, as they're coming through the border and pulling all their shots from all the different camera locations and streaming that to a security agent or something like that. So there's massive application for it, and it just happened to be that sports was the first one that we're tackling.
And what about monetizing it? Because the Foxtels and the Cricket Australias, I mean, we're not talking about 100 million of those that you can target. So are you monetizing per click, like, or per use, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, so our model is a combination of different things. So being a software company, we do have kind of a SaaS business model where we have a monthly recurring fee for access to the system and to the tools for our customers. So look, we don't need millions of customers like Cricket Australia. You get a couple of broadcasters and big federations. There's a pretty big universe of them out there. There's thousands of broadcasters, and there's hundreds to thousands of good-sized federations around the world in different sports. And some of those range anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars a year for us to potentially millions of dollars a year for us. So we're not targeting that end consumer, but our customers are. And the broadcasters in particular, they've got huge viewership, and their entire business model is around monetizing those viewers through advertising, through subscriptions, through everything else. So our initial and main business model today is on a SaaS software license, but all of our contracts also do include a usage-based kind of per click or a revenue share component. So as our customers grow, we have the capability to grow with them. And we anticipate, hopefully within the next 1 to 2 years, that variable revenue, that revenue share and per click will greatly expand and become our main source of revenue.
John, it reminds me of being in newsrooms and, you'd be sitting with editors putting things together, like, cutting the sports package, right? And, depending upon the editor that you've got, it's a really fast, fun, enjoyable thing, or it's a very painful, long process.
Yeah, it does remind me. I usused to work, for the BBC Sports Department, and you spend Saturday afternoons trying to log tapes of footage, it would take hours. And then you'd try and get it down to a minute and a half, a cut, as Tony said, sometimes with razor blades, and then it was digitized, fully digitized. Yeah. So yeah, it's a fascinating tool with great potential. And I was thinking as well, James and Tony, what about the other end? These sports institutions, often they have to analyze opponents and so on. Is there an application there, for teams when you're at a tournament and you want to see what your opposition's, skills are in a certain area? You could really target video analysis, couldn't you, potentially?
Completely. And that's a use case and an application of our technology. And we did go into that use case for a little bit. But what it turns out is that use case is already satisfied by existing solutions. They are much less efficient, much less cost effective than our solution. But there are companies who have already tackled that industry and are kind of big fish and well entrenched in that. And when we go to talk to we've talked to a few coaches and general managers, and they just go, we already have this. But then after the meeting, we have a couple of editors and kind of, junior coaches come to us and go, come here. But what they don't realize is we sit in a room for 24 hours cutting this stuff apart and giving it to them. So they think it's super easy. But we're still, breaking our backs to get this done for them. So it's absolutely a use case that we can and plan to tackle at some point, but we're fishing initially where there's less competition, which is around this kind of fan-facing and content creation space.
Yeah, no, great.
Where you start really matters, doesn't it? Because where you start is often where you're positioned and branded for a long time. Tiny example in us, like we started out as a media training company. We haven't, and that was our only service, right? But, 9 years on, because we started there and we kind of established a big following, people still see us sometimes as a media training company, but we've expanded well beyond that. So you're in sport right now. So, and then you're talking security in other markets. So I think you do have the advantage of being a SaaS technology kind of in the background, aren't you? So people aren't necessarily going to say, oh, there's a Linius showreel of any kind, right? You're the technology that makes it happen, but you're in sport and, that is going to stay with you positioning wise. You can't get around that.
Yeah. And look, we think that's a positive thing. If we can tackle sport and we can show the value and the monetization there, that's a great initial use case that makes it relatively easy for us to move into some of those other spaces. So for example, with broadcasters, as we're moving in and doing this for their sports teams and their sports highlights and content, one of the first questions they're asking is, how can we do this for our news department? Because our news department has the same problem. We've got, interns and junior editors out there, breaking their necks to find this stuff. Breaking news happens and we need to go search through the archive and pull up the bits and pieces to put on air. So it's a natural progression. And we've just landed our first customer in the U.S. collegiate sports market. And they're immediately saying, this is fantastic, great, love it for our sports alumni and fans and things like that. But how can we use this for students? Can we use this for educational purposes? So once we get in with one use case, it's then relatively easy to expand into some of those others. So we're looking to leverage that success in sport into other areas.
And I love how you mentioned catching baddies. So, going through CCTV or whatever, because we are in a big care economy, aren't we? Like everyone is leaning that way in their marketing and their PR and the products they're creating. I mean, at some stage, you're going to be saving lives with this.
Look, I would love to be in that position, to where, entertainment's a fantastic thing and entertaining people and providing value for our customers, very, very important. But, sometimes getting to that higher good would be a great place to be. And we did some early trials with the London Metro Police and things like that. We've spoken with many government agencies about it and proven the technology and proof of concepts. But those industries are very long process. So the feedback they gave is, we're going to move quick on this. It's only going to take us 2 years. And we're like, we're a small tech company, early revenue growth stage. We can't wait 2 years. We have no idea, what 2 years means, frankly. Yeah. So we really focused on doing something that we knew we could monetize quickly, drive ourselves to a profitability position. And then we will get into that space, and most likely through partnerships with bigger companies. There are big contractors and tech companies that already provide solutions, and we'll look to partner with them and be a component in their solutions. They've already got those contracts, and they can afford those longer sales cycles as bigger companies.
Yeah, well, John and I both laughed on the 2 years. Who has 2 years?
It's our reality. It's our reality, Tony, isn't it? We meet so many people that say like they're in a hurry, but they're not. They've got similar timelines to what you just alluded to, and that hurts people like myself and obviously yourself and Tony, because you just want to get things done, But sometimes you're waiting 6 weeks for approval on a comma, and it breaks us, So
yeah. I kind of work, and I'm being totally unreasonable, but I kind of work on the mindset that next year's not even going to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
you never know.
There is no guarantee that it'll even happen. Like we don't have 2 years to be successful. It's just a joke.
I agree.
I think as well, very interesting what you said there, James. You've probably got a huge archival potential with things like, historical institutions, where there's thousands of hours of footage. Like, for example, there's a documentary on Netflix around the Second World War at the moment. And, it's got incredible footage. But how, to try and chronicle and organize all that kind of stuff. And I remember even at the BBC, there would be so much archive material, and some of it gets destroyed after a certain period of time. But there would be clients like that down the track, perhaps, if they can move quick enough, where you could be providing great help and assistance to organizations like that.
Yeah, for sure. And a good example of that still in our sports wheelhouse where we are at the moment, Cricket Australia has gone back and they have archived and digitized and put data around 50 years of their archive. And we've got that now in our system, and you can literally go back and search for your favorite cricketers back to the mid 70s. And they're starting to produce all sorts of content. They just launched their first fast streaming channel on Samsung TVs, and it's a 24-hour historical Cricket Australia content channel. So 24 hours of just historical mini matches and historical highlights. And the next step in that is letting the fans themselves go in and search for what they want.
It's going to end marriages. I think that kind of service is going to end marriages. But sorry, Tony.
Yeah. I think I've been watching that. Is that on KO? Is Is that
KO, I think, is starting to put out some of the content, but if you've got a Samsung TV, you can actually download a Cricket Australia app to your Samsung TV.
Got it. Yeah, you're right. It's tough, isn't it? Well, let's be honest, guys. You know, what you're liking watching and your streaming service is not what your partner's liking. That's just the bottom line. So then you get into some compromise situation that you both don't hate, but you both don't enjoy. And there you are. We got to create that product.
You're both watching stuff neither of you likes that much, but you're doing it because it is a compromise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah,
but James, if you're commuting to work and you've got 10 minutes on the train and you want to watch exactly what you want, that's one of the things that we're trying to do is you've got limited time. I want what I want. I want it when I want it. Just give it to me right now.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I've got an hour on the train quite often, so that'll suit me down to the ground. Yeah.
There you go.
And are you having fun, mate? Are you enjoying this entrepreneurial journey?
It has been an absolute ride. It's a lot of fun, learning an absolute ton. This is a bit of a segment that I hadn't been in before, so I'm learning every day. So I've been in video and streaming and a bit into broadcast, but haven't really done sport. Getting much more deeply entrenched with broadcasters than I had in the past. So, I came in more as a marketer and an executor of kind of go-to-market strategies and sales execution, and just learning about the intricacies of, some of the sports and the broadcast industry and the media rights. That was a new one for me, understanding all the intricacies of who can play what content, when and where. It's always one of the bigger hurdles for us. Sometimes the technology is easy. The hard part is, the lawyers have said I can only show this much content at this time.
Yeah, the rights are very complex, aren't they? I know with the Premier League, they just secured a domestic broadcast deal, which is very different to the overseas deal. And I know that, say, there's certain radio stations back home. I've got the app, but it geo-blocks me and says, we can't provide you that content at the moment due to rights restrictions. And it's a real killer. Yeah.
It absolutely is. So that's part of the puzzle is we have to find, who's got the rights in different locations, and it changes, every couple of years it changes when they renegotiate those contracts. So that sometimes is a good thing for us. Sometimes it's a bad thing for us. But it's just something we always have to learn and work around. And
do you get bored out down the track? Like does a Facebook buy you and go, this is magnificent, we can make even more money than these guys?
Yeah, look, who knows? It could be someone in the broadcast industry. It could be in the tech industry. It could be anywhere. But look, at the moment, we're an ASX listed company. We are very happy where we're at. We'd love to see our shareholders grow along with us and to remain independent as long as we can. We'd like to get to the point where first of all, our goal is to get to profitability, get ourselves to a break-even position and get there as quickly as we can. And then potentially do some acquiring of our own. We'd love to get to the point where we can add in some different components of the solution that we think will drive greater value and revenue. And look, anything's on the table. At the end of the day, the goal is to do the right thing for our shareholders and our customers. So if that means, getting bought and becoming part of someone bigger, terrific. If it means staying independent, that's the path we're on at the moment. But you never know what'll happen. Like you said, who knows what'll happen in a year?
We have no idea. And we do live in tumultuous times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, was I backgrounded properly? Were you in and around YouTube around its formation?
No, I was not. So I've been in the video conferencing industry. Was probably my primary start. I've interfaced in different ways with YouTube, but if I was in the early founding of YouTube, I probably would not still be sitting here doing podcasts. I'd be on a beach somewhere.
You'd be living it large in Las Vegas, big time. Yeah. And who could blame you for that? You mentioned video conferencing, but say Zoom and COVID. Well, that's an example of how two kind of unrelated events can lead to sort of success for a platform, I guess.
Yeah, look, I worked in that industry from the early stages of it. I started even when video wasn't really the big thing. I was in the early stages of the audio conferencing industry where, telephone companies used to be charging 25 cents a minute to have an audio conference. And then video was used for, very specific kind of C-level things. I saw video then start to grow and become more prolific. but still reserved for bigger companies. We were selling $500,000 systems. We would sell video conferencing rooms that were $500,000. They worked brilliantly, but they were only, for certain users. And then we saw that grow and grow and then become commoditized over time. And that happens with every industry. As the technology gets better and better and cheaper, it gets to a point where it is commoditized and, companies get displaced. I worked for one of the leading companies in the industry. I worked for Polycom, who was one of the early founders and pioneers of that technology. And, they're still, they got bought out and they're still creating products, but they had a misstep. They missed the opportunity to either be Zoom or to buy Zoom. And they missed out that opportunity with a single kind of misstep. Yeah. And Zoom took it over, and Zoom then commoditized the industry. And now it's basically Microsoft and Zoom, and even the other big players like Cisco. They're not really in that industry anymore. It's down to a couple of big players, and everything else is commoditized. So that happens faster and faster in every industry nowadays.
You're so right. And tell me, when you're using your product, say it's on one of the premium sites that you're talking about, what are you looking up? What sporting events or people are you researching?
Look, with the role that I have now and my family life and everything else, I don't have very much time to look into and utilize our product, unfortunately. But for me, if and when we get it working in American football, that will be my go-to. My near-term goal, now that we've entered the U.S. college sports market, my goal is to get it into the bigger college conferences, get it into the Big Ten, and get it into my alma mater, which is Penn State, and be able to go back from when I used to go to Penn State and pull up the games that I attended and pull up the, famous players and things that I used to watch when I went to school there. So that's my goal. I'd love to see us do that in the next kind of year or so.
That sounds great.
I love it. Well, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. I love that because we're all kids. I think when we're at our best, we are a bit childlike, aren't we?
Mm.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We still consume sports, furiously. You're probably like yourself when you get the chance, James. Tony and I watched, the Last Dance documentary. We absolutely loved that on Netflix because it took us back to those times when we were younger. And, I was a Cardiff boy. Couldn't really relate to the excellence of the NBA, but it just blew me away, and I really enjoyed sort of revisiting it as an older man, And obviously US sports is fundamental, really. It kind of rolls it out to the rest of the world, doesn't it? With the NFL as well.
There's a huge interest in that historic content. So Netflix has really tapped into an amazing demand. And it's not just about the historical aspect of it. It's the storytelling. Yeah. So that's what I actually love about our product is we can't tell stories with our product. We can make it more efficient. We can make it more effective. We can bring things up that you might not have found before. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to that producer, that editor, that storyteller. And what we're hoping to do and what we are doing, we've got some examples that we're already doing it, is to make it easy for them to find that content. And as they're looking through it and putting together that story, surfacing things that they wouldn't have found otherwise. So you searched for this, but hey, you should also look at this. Did you think about this? That's what our tool is providing so that they can tell better stories. And a good example of that, New Zealand Rugby is now putting out some amazing content on their NZR Plus website. And they're putting out these 20 and 30-minute programs on historical content. They interview a player and it pulls up stuff out of his, archive history. And they're able to put those together in a day or two, whereas that would have taken them months before. And it's because they can now tell these stories because they're not wasting their time, pouring through old tapes and
having to log it all and stuff. And I mean, you're right. I mean, it takes so long to commission a program, get in the old days, a director or a producer. But now if you've got technology that can sort of filter all that out, as you said, you've got these incredible bespoke programs around, might be a hooker or a flanker or whatever position it is in rugby, winger. You can really focus on these different stories, and I'm a Welsh rugby fan myself, so you can imagine the Welsh audience and the New Zealanders. My goodness me, they love their rugby. We work with some wonderful people from New Zealand, Tony, don't we? And they love their rugby.
Absolutely. And like I said, there's real interest in this historic content, and it's about telling a great story around it. And that's what we hope to be able to help to do.
It's great, yeah. And that's primary, isn't it? Like we're wide for storytelling. We're wide to remember great stories, and that's the essence of what we're doing as communicators, right? Thank you so much for joining us here at Good Talent.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Shane.